Sometimes we're given 2 points and we're told to find the distance between those 2 points. Find the distance between these 2 points. When we think about distance, we're thinking about the space between 2 points. So here we have number 1, find the distance between points A and B. Now how can we measure the distance between points A and B? Well, it doesn't really help us to look at the y-axis because the y-axis doesn't help us tell any difference. It doesn't tell the distance here. However, if we take a look at the x-axis, if we look at the x-axis here, we can see very quickly that if we match these to the x-axis, we can see how far the distance is. So let's take a look at it. We can count the number of spaces. If we start at 2 here, we'll just count the number of spaces over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have traveled 6 units. Each one of these little square blocks, and you can't perhaps see them on the projector, but you should be able to see them on your computer screen if you watch it that way. Each one of these little square blocks is called a unit. We don't have centimeters or feet or anything like that. They're just called units. They are individual squares. So we have 6 units of distance between A and B. So 6 units. Now let's take a look at that again. Let's look at the coordinates for point A. What are the coordinates for point A? Well, we know we put the x-coordinate first, so let's go over 1 and 2. So it goes up to 2. Our coordinate is 2 something. 2, we'll go up the y-axis till we get there. 2, 9 is our coordinate for A. What's our coordinate for B? Let's go over on the x-axis. It is 8 for the x-coordinate, and again we have 9 for the y-coordinate. So which coordinate changed? Was it the x-coordinate or was it the y-coordinate? Of course it was the x-coordinate because that's where we're traveling along this line. And we know the distance is 6. If we were to subtract the x-coordinate for point A here, the x-coordinate for point A, from the x-coordinate for point B, so the one furthest away from 0, we take that and subtract the one closest to 0 from it. What do we get? 8 minus 2 is equal to 6. And that is also the distance. So if we want to find the distance between 2 points in the same coordinate, in the same quadrant, this is called our quadrant. Which quadrant is it? This is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. If they're in the same quadrant, then we simply take the one furthest away from 0 and subtract the one closest to 0 from it, and that will give us our distance. Or we can just count like that. Let's take a look at another one. Find the distance between C and D. Here's point C, and here's point D. Are they in the same quadrant? No, they are not in the same quadrant. The distance between C and D spans quadrant 2 and 3. Spans just means spreads across. So let's take a look at this and see how perhaps we could find the distance between C and D. Well, once again, we could just count the number of spots. So let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we would find 8 spaces of distance, 8 units. 8 units of distance between C and D. Well, let's take a look at the coordinates again. What are the coordinates for C? Well, if we count over along the x-axis, we're going down, -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. So -5 is my x-coordinate, and I count up 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's -5, 4. What are the coordinates for my D, my point D? -1, -2, -3, -4, -5 along the x-axis, -5. This time we're traveling down the y-axis, -1, -2, -3, -4. So my points for this one, my coordinates for this point, point D, are -5, -4. So what has changed? The sign of the y coordinate has changed. Now, -5 and -5 haven't changed. Let's do and think about what we did up here. We have a 4 here and we have a -4 here. What is the distance from 0 for this point? Well, we counted up 1, 2, 3, 4 from 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 points from 0. Now let's count down from 0 for the distance to point D. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we've got 4 more here. But this point is actually -4. And this point is actually +4. But the distance is 8. If I want to find the distance between 2 points that are in different quadrants, I take the absolute value of the coordinate that changes and I add them together. So take the absolute value of 4 and I add that to the absolute value of -4. And what does that give me? Well, the absolute value of 4 is 4. The absolute value of -4 is also 4, remember, because it's the distance from 0. 4 plus 4 is 8. So the distance is equal to the absolute value of the two coordinates added together. That is only if the coordinates are across two different quadrants. If they are in the same quadrant, I simply subtract the larger coordinate. I subtract the smaller coordinate from the larger. So 8 minus 2 is 6. Down here I'm adding the absolute values. That should get you set up for section 5.4 in the homework.